In 1995, the nation held its breath after learning that an American F-16 had been shot down over Bosnia.
I am very concerned about the loss of our F-16 over Bosnia and the fate of the American pilot.
The country waited to hear about the fate of Captain Scott O'Grady, whose plane had literally been cut in half by a missile while he was flying deep behind enemy lines.
When they say your whole life flashes before your eyes, it doesn't just flash before your eyes, but there's photos that click through your mind throughout the entire time that you just can't, you thought you'd never remember.
O'Grady parachuted safely into hostile countryside and then survived for 6 days by doing what he was taught in survival school, eating bugs, hiding by day, and sending signals on his radio at night.
Basher 5-2, this is Basher 1-1. You're loud and clear.
I'm alive.
Copy that, you're alive. Good to hear your voice.
O'Grady's radio signal was finally picked up by Captain Thomas Hanford, a friend and fellow F-16 pilot who was searching for him.
He said it loud enough, I'm Basher 5-2, and I'm alive. And I knew it was him. And it was a very happy moment, I think, for both of us.
Within hours, 2 Marine rescue helicopters were speeding to pick him up. They landed in a clearing, a squad of armed Marines fanning out to provide cover from enemy troops nearby. O'Grady then ran out of the tree line and scrambled aboard a helicopter.
For a man that's been out there for 6 days, he looked really good. As far as physical condition, he looked fatigued and scared, but other than that, physically he looked really good.
For O'Grady, the sight of the helicopter was burned into his memory.
The most beautiful sight in the world is our Marine helicopters. Unbelievable.
Scott O'Grady's rescue was an enormous success and the cause for a national celebration. But to prevent pilots from being shot down in the first place, the Air Force has come up with a revolutionary new concept. It has unveiled a top-secret plane that has bombs and missiles, but no pilot. It's called an Unmanned Combat Air Vehicle, or UCAV.
The UCAV brings us another doorstep into aviation history. The cultural and technological leap that says we can and we should take man out of the cockpit for certain key and deadly missions.
The Air Force envisions squadrons of these fighter planes without pilots, taking on the most dangerous missions, like locating and destroying enemy anti-aircraft artillery and surface-to-air missile launchers.
I think this is basically the wave of the future. You don't have an international incident if they get shot down. They're also less expensive to build, less expensive to operate.
By using satellite communications, the manufacturer says several of the pilotless planes can be controlled at the same time from anywhere in the world, in a trailer near the battlefield or in the Pentagon thousands of miles away.
So the control really will be centered where the intelligence information is to do the mission. It literally can be anywhere in the world.
Designers say huge leaps in technology will allow UCAVs to fly themselves and make decisions independently.
It can go out on its own with its partners, do cooperative targeting between multiple vehicles, find the target, decide who's got best range and look to the target, prosecute it, then be able to get back, all without intervention from the operator.
To make sure this lethal machine doesn't develop a mind of its own, creators say they went to great lengths to ensure UCAV never gets out of control.
The operator at all times has the ability to override the system. And he can also put it in a lower autonomous mode where it has to ask for his consent prior to taking any action that is not pre-planned.
Of course, as advanced as UCAV is, designers say there will always be some missions best suited for pilots.
Missile away. Detecting and identifying and isolating a tank from a line of civilian vehicles is not the kind of thing probably that we've got the sensoring capability and the logic to take care of in an autonomous system today. You'll leave that to a man.
The Air Force says UCAV will make the skies safer for pilots on search and destroy missions by taking out much of the enemy's air defenses ahead of time, and perhaps spare future pilots the ordeal Scott O'Grady went through.
Well, it's just unbelievable that it didn't die. whether it had been from the missile impact, whether it had been from the seat being able to leave the airplane, and whether it being able to function properly to the damage that it could have taken to, to the point to where I was on the ground and survived those 6 days.
Combat pilots aren't the only ones at risk of being shot down. Those who fly high-altitude spy planes also put their lives in danger every time they enter enemy territory. When their planes go down, it can lead to international uproar.
On display in Moscow, the wreckage of pilot Francis Powers' U-2 reconnaissance plane.
In 1960, Gary Francis Powers' reconnaissance plane was shot down by the Russians. This after the U.S. had denied it was using high-altitude spy planes against the Soviets.
Its pilot, Francis Powers, was made the subject of a showcase trial.
Today, the U.S. relies on spy satellites to gather most of its intelligence. But even these eyes in the sky have limits.
The satellites are flying overhead for just a few minutes every couple of hours. But the bad guys know when the satellite's going to be there. They can run indoors and hide.
So the Pentagon is developing unmanned high-altitude spy planes.
Airborne, flight number 1.
Ones that would replace the U-2 spy plane and get better pictures than satellites. It's called the Global Hawk.
It has the ability to operate autonomously. That is, once you've planned the mission, it can taxi, take off, go to its destination, take the pictures, the images it needs to take, and then fly back home and land.
The Air Force says Global Hawk can fly at more than 60,000 feet above many air defense systems for at least 1,200 miles and hover in one area for 24 hours. That's at least 3 times as far and long as the U-2. All the while instantly sending back incredibly detailed images, giving commanders for the first time a constant view of the battlefield.
What the Global Hawk gives the battlefield commander is the ability to get real-time, near real-time intelligence and disseminate it out to whoever needs it, whether they be on the ground, whether they be in the command center, wherever we need that information.
Global Hawk has already flown in training exercises and is expected to be ready for duty in 2003. But the Air Force has much smaller unmanned planes that have already been used in combat. Like Predator, a 7-foot-long UAV that transmits video of a particular area of interest directly back to commanders nearby. In Kosovo, it was used to identify targets on the ground as well as monitor Serbian withdrawal.
Unmanned aerial vehicles give the soldier an opportunity to see far into the distance without having to expose himself or herself to harm. It gives them a view of what's really going on over the next mountain, over the next ridge, to be able to target the enemy and destroy them long before they know that our soldiers are there.
Predator has been so successful in gathering intelligence that all the services are experimenting with different shapes and sizes of unmanned vehicles, like this helicopter being tested by the Navy.
3, 2, 1, launch.
And the Army is developing UAVs for its soldiers that are so small, they're called micro-air vehicles.
We're trying to push the capabilities of unmanned aerial vehicles closer down to the units that are actually doing the fighting, the brigade level, so that they get the information faster and can act on it more quickly.
Here we go.
The goal is for troops to be able to carry the UAVs in their backpack and use them instantly.
You reach in your pack, you pull it out, you turn on your little handheld video device, you fire this thing up, it flies out, and you look at the picture, it sends back. So it flies over the hill and sees what's back there, and you can say, oh, it's a tractor, or it's a tank.
Launch.
Right now, there are a variety of different designs being tested. The fixed wing, the helicopter, even one that flaps its wings like a hummingbird. It's all part of an explosion in unmanned aerial vehicles that can fit in the palm of your hand or hand-deliver bombs into enemy territory, keeping pilots out of the cockpit and out of harm's way.